So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our second plenary session. In the last session, we heard about the political and economic contest and began to assess the achievements and the shortcomings of the Eastern Partnership to date. And we looked at some of the key challenges for the future. We also began to discuss the key role of the business community in helping to deliver on the objectives of the partnership, but also what needs to be done to ensure business can play that role. I want to delve into that now, but particularly in terms of the role of business associations within this. What are the key elements of a business-friendly environment that fosters the investment we've heard about being so important? And how do our speakers see the role of business organisations, employers' organisations in driving reforms and helping companies to take advantage of the opportunities? And how can relations between business associations be strengthened? Very warm welcome to you all. Let me introduce our panellists. Next to me, Līga MEＮģELSONE, who is Director General of the Employers' Confederation of Latvia, Andris Ozols, who is a Director of Investment and Development Agency of Latvia. Very warm welcome to you, and apologies if I mispronounce your name. I'm finding Latvian O's quite challenging. Jacki who is President of the Republican Union of Employers of Armenia, Anatoly Kinak, President of the Ukrainian League of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs, Arnaldo Abruzzini, Secretary General of Eurochambre, Gediminas Rainis, Director General of the Lithuanian Confederation of Industrialists, and Henadze Chamerka, who is Deputy Chairman of the Union of Non-Commercial Organizations, Confederation of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs, Employers in Belarus. Very warm welcome to you all. Let's dive straight in. Lots to discuss, not much time. If I can ask, and Līga, perhaps I could start with you, in terms of the current business environment in the EU member states, in the partner countries, how do you see, how do you think they compare? And what do you see as the key challenges now as we look to build on the cooperation to date?
Thanks, Jacki, for the really good point to our job and our how we are also not only measuring ourselves but also measuring our partners, and that's why our strategy is based and also measured by doing business index, which is done by World Bank, and also the competitiveness index done by Economic Forum, and of course the credit rating. And of course, from one hand, some kind of indexes says a lot. On the same time, in the particular countries, it's not so easy to achieve. So that's why business organizations can be so-called watchdogs for the governments to put those measurements on the table and ask for the terms to implement them. So that's why business organizations, together with the employees organizations, and together with the government, and you know that in Latvia we have a pretty good social dialogue system, and it gives us the predictability and possibility to speak in proper way and to achieve the results.
Okay, so that very crucial role of driving it, pushing it, and making sure it actually happens. Andris Ozols, from your perspective, how do you think, how business-friendly is the environment now on both sides of this equation, and the role of business associations in building on the achievements? We heard in the first session about the achievements of the Eastern Partnership, but also that a lot remained to be done to ensure that business could realise its full potential. How do you see the situation?
I think actually I represent government institution rather large. We are more than 230 people supporting business and working closely together with NGO and with associations as a partners, sometimes in particular cases as partners for arguments, even opponents, but then we have more quality discussion. And the major question is how business can better defend its interests, either individually, even large companies, transnational companies, or if they get united. And I do not say it because I would like to please Līga or other NGO representatives, but I really think that this strength is in being well organized, but not overdo it, because if you become pushy, like lobbying in a rather naive and aggressive form, you are not considered to be a good partner for discussion. You are just hyper-aggressive. So I really think that this quality talk is of major interest. But referring to your question, is business environment good or not? One should not generalize. Countries are rather different, even on both sides. So, and I really think it is a great opportunity for Latvia to host this event here, because we sincerely believe we are good partners, and we better understand, if I may say, we better understand Eastern Partnership countries than some other members of European Union. It has to do with our past, with our history, not necessarily with Russian language skills. Usually we do not say very positive about this heritage from former Soviet Union. Nevertheless, we are friends. We feel each other, we feel mentality, and the role of NGOs of getting united is extreme.
Thank you. And that understanding, I like the quality talk, partnership, and you're beginning to touch there on what makes the partnership work between different business communities. I'd like to come back to that in the discussion if I can. But Jacki Makarian, from your perspective, from an Armenian perspective, how do you think the business environments compare? What are the challenges? How well is cooperation working now?
I would like to say that European Union market has one main attractive thing. It is equal competition. Yeah. And in our East partnership countries, still we have a problem regarding equal competition. And it's created a lot of negative problems. One of them is corruption, risks, and other. So I think that one of the main roles of the employers' organization can be make some pushing to make some reforms and to fight against corruption. But the first time, one of the ways is to motivate companies to become transparent and effective, productive companies, to be able to penetrate European Union markets. So internationalization of the companies and to penetrate equal competition market is very, very important. It will give them motivation to become more and more effective, more productive, because many times in our countries, and not only Armenia, but Eastern Partnership countries, companies having not good opportunities for equal competition, they're trying to find another ways to keep sustainability of their businesses. It can be different ways. I don't want to stay on these issues. My colleagues knows about this. But anyway, this is one of the ways. And here, very important role of social partners. Many times people speak about partnership, civil society, civil partnership, or social partnership. It's quite different for me. The role of employers' organization very, very clear, following our law in Armenia about employers' organization in some countries. Employers' organization has a special role to be responsible for social economic relations and to be social partners. It means that also European Union and East Invest program have to motivate and promote this social partnership. When they're starting implementation of some reforms, they're designing term of references, or they're organizing some granting proposals, they have to keep the role of employers because they have a special role. Okay. We are not to mix our role with the civil society.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to come back to how to make sure that happens. We touched on it in our last panel. I'd like to come back to that in our discussion. But Anatoly Kinak, from your perspective, the current situation in terms of the business environment and the challenges that you think business associations face now to build on that cooperation. Should be, yeah.
Thank you. Ukrainian business considers Euro integration as an irreversible process, and our summit confirms it, despite the forms, even associated membership or Eastern Partnership. The goal is one, is to comply the economy of our countries to European standards, fighting corruption, equal competition, protection of ownership. And this is a very important conclusion which we have to understand, not to waste our time to fruitless political discussions, but to understand our common goal. And the second thing, which I would like to formulate as a very positive factor, being a participant of all the summits, I see very positive tendencies in this third summit, the understanding of very important role of communication with civil society and business associations. This is very important when civil and democratic societies emerging in our societies will take part. And on the example of business associations of Ukraine, we purposefully maintain cooperation with Europarliament, Eurocommission, and the Committee of Economic and Social Partnership. And we're very grateful to the Association of Business Europe for close cooperation. It gave us the opportunity, even in the April of this year, to open the representative of Ukrainian business in European Union as platform for communication. And I completely share this point of view of Mr. Commissioner, that in Ukraine you need pragmatics. We need analysis of the efficiency of the results of European programs of help to business, of the access to resources, the start capital. And here is a lot to be done, and we have formulated our package of proposal of Ukraine upon the results of this summit.
And as you say, I mentioned earlier Council conclusions, reacting to the Commission's paper saying this deeper engagement is important, but how do we make it really work? If I could ask you, Arnaldo Abruzzini, from an EU perspective now, and we'll come back to the specific role of Eurochambre a little bit later on, if I might, but more broadly, how you see the business environment in the partner countries at the moment. What do you see as the key challenges, and the role for all the organisations represented here, a role for Eurochambre? How do you see the role in meeting these challenges?
Thank you very much, Jackie. The business environment, it is definitely different. And this is one of the reasons why the European Union, it is an attractive place to be, an attractive place to make business with. And the major differences I would summarize in 4 key words. The first one is stability. And certainly in the past 60 years, besides short-term vague of differences, the stability has been one of the major achievements of the European Union. Transparency of the market, including the keyword of corruption, where businesses cannot flourish. The third is the free market rules. In Europe, we insist very much in having a totally free market approach to our business. And the fourth one is the strategic long-term thinking. You cannot make any business if you think only day by day. You need to have a strategy. Now, those 4 elements are the 4 elements that make Europe attractive. And therefore, I would say that those 4 elements are equally important for our past partners in the Eastern Partnership side to develop, to increase the path of reforms on those 4 elements. That will make them attractive as well.
Thank you very much. And we'll come back to how you have been helping to try and work on those issues through Eurochambre, through East Invest. I'd like to ask you about that in a little while. But Geminidas Rainis, from your perspective, how business-friendly is the environment on both sides now? And what for you are the key challenges ahead?
Yeah, really, Lithuania, very similar like Latvia, located in between East and West, so can more easily compare what's happening in Western direction and Eastern direction. Of course, related to EU and Brussels, our major target related how to improve business environment is our action throughout Business Europe, like our lobbyist organization in Brussels, and the target is obviously all legal documents, drafting of legal documents, We will like ensure that competitiveness dimension and importance will be none less important rather than, you know, safety, climate change, consumer safety, and many others. And very rarely we are dealing with issues on national legislation. And one example, not very good example, like German starting regulation of drivers driving throughout Germany. This more is exception rather than general rule, which are again throughout business Europe trying to deal with. On eastern part, it's, yeah, I can easily describe as a less stable situation, business environment, not because of governmental officials or my partner's business association underevaluate that stability of business, but simply macroeconomic changes, political changes, sometimes disagreements in between countries like Russia or Ukraine create some necessity to directly asking for help for our business acting there. It could be some political decisions like in Georgia radically change legislation. It could be countries joining Eurasian Union, some contradiction in between national legislation and that which Eurasian, and sometimes even putting money into countries. Today we discussed with Belarusian colleagues about our greenfield investment. Sometimes really you need governmental officials' help in obtaining land, in securing infrastructure development, in the case of furniture producers securing raw material supply, etc. So we are, I think, successfully doing that. About institutional setup with Eastern partners will be probably second round of discussion, but as you was comparing, the business climate is a little bit different, and our action is also designed a little bit differently to Eastern or Western direction countries.
Thank you very much indeed. And Henadze Chamerka, just to complete the picture and from a Belarusian perspective, how do you see the business environment currently in partner countries, across the region as a whole, because we're talking about also cooperation within the region as well as with the EU, and the key challenges ahead?
Спасибо. Что касается...
Thank you. As to the cooperation between business unions, I can speak on behalf of the Eurasian Economic Union, because at the same time there is a very important historical event, as in Astana an agreement on Eurasian Economic Union is being signed right now, because Armenia and Kyrgyzstan have also joined us this year. It means that this expands the business environment, and within this union we have good contacts between business associations. We've made great progress as to technical regulation and customs legislation. A joint common customs code was drafted, which will come into effect on the 1st of January 2016. And we would like very much to have the same cooperation with the countries of the European Union. We have very close relations with our neighboring countries, such as Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Ukraine, but we would also like, as our German partner said, that this work is based on a systemic approach. It is very important, and I'm willing to support any of his proposals, such as visa-free regime, creation of transport corridors. These are things are very important for business, and we do hope that this partnership will develop in this direction.
And as you say, that systemic approach, which is so central. But before we come to how you do that, I just, in terms of your own roles as employer and business organizations, two elements. You talked about the watchdog element and that driving, we heard in the first panel, driving the reform process, putting some impetus behind it, making sure people do what they say they would do, but also in terms of supporting companies to make the most of the opportunities opened up by partnership projects, mechanisms, and so on. How do you see your roles? Anybody come in here? And do you think you can do more in future, and can you learn from each other about better ways to drive both processes? Who would like to come in? Līga first, yeah.
Well, there are a few instruments how we are doing already now, and I think that one good example of Latvia's experience is the business cooperation councils. And actually, Latvia's Confederation of Employers already we have practically all with all Eastern Partnership countries these bilateral cooperation councils, and that is a great platform, and it's already interlinked with the intergovernmental council. So it's really linked together with our government's plans and targets. So this is the way how to work, and of course all possible projects, and I believe that European Commission and also the high representatives here today, they heard how important it is to strengthen the capacity of the business organization of these countries, and the more professional they become, and to refer to Mr. Uzol's request to the professional dialogue, it means that also capacity is needed a lot.
So, question there, Andris, if I could ask you, Andris Uzos, do we need to build on that? Is there an argument for creating a European version of these cooperation councils? If we're going to be more systematic, if you would agree with that we need to, do we need to do that? And where for you is the focus? Driving the reform agenda? Helping people? Your agency works on attracting investment. Where should the focus be?
I sincerely believe that integrity helps. So if very diverse European Union every country acts separately, and we do not create a platform, it has significantly less strength than having the platform. And I just would like to comment on who gets the real business and who gets real investment. Is it the best marketing specialist, those countries who have best bodies, advertising, good business environment, good policy advocacy, or the country which has all the setup? I shortly explained, very short. So, you know, I was arguing a time ago with the previous Prime Minister of Estonia, Andrus Ansip, and he was also running around the world with business delegations saying that Estonia is an excellent country for investment, for manufacturing, for services, same as Latvia does, same as Lithuania does. Will appear pretty much the same. We all say we are having unique geographic location, we have good business environment, then some minor differences in taxes, some very minor just advantages or disadvantages. In reality, every serious investor or global company does proper due diligence. They invest either in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania or Georgia or wherever, not because of best prime minister came and they wanted to please him, because they wanted to be polite towards him. I really think this homework is by far more than just one particular good NGO, be it Confederation of Employers or Chamber. I really think that Finns have excellent example. They created so-called Team Finland, where academia, universities play an important role, government sector, including municipalities, and private sector with all the NGOs work in real team to deliver perfect service. So I think if Europe can learn from best examples, I think we will benefit all.
And then presumably, though, we talked in the first session in a broader context about tailor-making. You then have to adapt it to your local situation and so on, but a key element of learning. Just in terms of the role of business associations, any other comments in terms of how you see your role? Please, Jacki.
Yes, thank you. I think that we have to work on three levels. First level is to make a needs assessment of our members to understand better the situation inside of the companies, and in time to introduce ideas regarding reforms and motivation to create comfortable conditions for the companies. Second level is to learn more among Eastern Partnership countries, because all these countries were post-Soviet countries are now, and the platform probably in many countries are the Soviet style. And many changes or reforms going on the basis of Soviet platforms, or more or less, quickly or slow. So we have to learn more not to make mistakes. And the third level, I think that we have to use consoles, as Līga told. We have also business collaboration console with Latvian Confederation to learn more about their experience, because this country and this confederation has an experience on 23 years in social dialogue and social partnership, and they get very good results through this.
Would you like to see that done on a European level as well?
Absolutely. And then we have to move all these things to the European Union, to the Eastern Partnership Program, to get more flexibilities and support to make our role. Because administration resources of the governments in our countries is too high, but the resources of employees' organization or social partners, it's not enough. So we have to get also additional support to become more strong partner, equal partner with the government, making changes positive.
And that word equal, that key ingredient of partnership is it must be equal.
Yeah.
Anatoly Kinak, from your perspective, the most important role of business associations on both sides, and how you can build that. Particularly if you could pick up on this point that Andris was making about learning from each other, the degree to which you can and the degree to which your circumstances are very specific and you face, particularly in your case, very specific challenges.
Thank you. I would like to mention three priorities which are today the basis for activities of Ukrainian business associations and Ukrainian authorities. First of all, this is an important issue for us, and this is an important issue for all countries of Eastern Partnership. We need to adopt vital reforms for national consolidation dialogue, and in order to solve issues not by chaotic processes but based on social agreement and consensus. Today, Ukrainian business associations try to strengthen the dialogue with the authorities in order to ensure this social, political and public stability. This is the first task. Second one, it is very important for us and for the countries that are about to ratify the agreements on association with the European Union, I'm meaning Ukraine in this case, so that in all stages we could reinforce the monitoring how mutual obligations are implemented in a country that is willing to join this structure, and we are sure that such monitoring can be systemic, objective and depolitized in case participation, in case the representatives of social civic society and associations participate in this monitoring in order to ensure objective policy of the European Union. And the third task is a pragmatic one, and it refers not only to Ukraine. It is very important for us to develop small and medium enterprises as a source of middle class formation, and middle class is the basis of a democratic civic society. When we implement the programs of the European Union support, such as in Ukraine, for example, in 2014, a mid-term program amounting to $11 billion was adopted, and only 3% are intended for support of small and medium enterprises, which is incorrect in our opinion. So today we are wording our proposals aimed at well-addressed support and assistance to these enterprises, and we need a specific content.
I'd like to ask you in a minute, particularly about East Invest, one of the targets of East Invest, SMEs, as well as supporting business organizations. But before I do, if I...
East Invest. Но прежде я хотела бы услышать от вас о
and how you see the most important task that you face to realize these opportunities to meet the challenges. What's the most important jobs for associations like yours?
Спасибо, попробуем на другом официальном.
I will try to speak in another official language of this forum. In more detail, in Eastern countries where there is a critical mass of relationship, I mean, first of all, Ukraine and Belarus, there we have business councils. We would have had them with Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, but there is not a critical mass there to do that. Of course, we have meetings in such forums as this one, and we have bilateral forums. For example, in a couple weeks, there will be a traditional Lithuanian-Belarusian forum, 11th such forum, and in 2 previous such forums, we were greeted by prime ministers of both countries, Lithuania and Belarus. This year, this will be a Ministry of Economy. And what I already said, that we need ministers and other officials to be present, for them to hear our desires, our evaluations of the existing environment, sometimes our desires for some specific actions, for example, simplifying some regulations, or to work on some transportation. For example, we have railway between Minsk and Vilnius, but we have to go through the external border of EU, and so there should be specific agreements with customs and border service of both countries, and it's very, very necessary. As I said, we are gathering this critical mass of issues, especially with Belarus and Ukraine, and we try to use any institutional forum, be it a forum or a visit of a prime minister with business delegation. Every time we try to express our requests, our attitude, requests for change or improvement.
Your perspective, the most important roles of the business association and the challenge to really make this cooperation, how well for you is it working now, cooperating with your partners on this panel and more broadly, and what more can we do in future? And then, Arnaldo, I'd like to hear a little bit about East Invest, if I might. And then I'm coming out to all of you. Please, Henadze first.
It's easier for us. We are a country with very stable political system, though our economy is a bit declined, still the enterprises work, and quite successfully. Therefore, our confederation simply has to do what we have to, which means to conduct continuous surveys of our members, to identify challenges that hinder their work, their expert, or some internal legislation, for example, fiscal laws, etc. And then with these proposals we work, and we submit it to government and solve them. And in the previous year we have submitted about 200 different proposals on improving business environment in Belarus, and about 70% were implemented. So our government meets the desires of the business, and they find implementation in their laws. Of course, we would also like to introduce more European standards on our territory, and I will again speak not about only Belarusian territory, because we are part of Eurasian Union, which is very important, and so the exchange of experience in the framework of such big events or the business councils that we already have with Lithuania and Latvia, it's quite efficient. Community expresses its opinions, then there are some protocols made, and it's being implemented.
Very much. Arnaldo, Eurochambre manages East Invest, this investment and trade facilitation project. You focus on supporting business organisations. You focus, we've heard mention of SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises. We're just moving from phase 1 to phase 2. What have we learned from phase 1 about the sort of support that's needed, what works, what doesn't, and what implication does that have as we move into East Invest 2?
Since this morning, we are witnessing a repeated appeal to dialogue, cooperation, capacity building, influence, and those are all the key words of East Invest. East Invest has been designed as a program to support the business organization in different countries, in the Eastern Partnership countries, with the support of the European countries, to increase their capacity to act effectively as intermediary between the political level and the business community. We have been able, in the past phase of East Invest, to involve more than 80 business organizations in the 6 Eastern Partnership countries, but not only the social partners, not only the chambers of commerce. It is a unique composition of all sorts of business organizations, intermediary organizations in those countries working together. And this is where we have learned a lesson for East Invest too. The capacity, and this has been repeated by the speakers here and the previous panel, the capacity to work together effectively as an intermediary organization, meaning being able to represent your members and to deliver services to your members, and second, to be influential at the political level, is the key role of the business organization. And East Invest, the phase number 2, it is already starting with bearing this in mind. And in fact, we have increased the number of business organizations working together. Only from the 6 Eastern Partnership countries, we have more than 100 organizations jointly collaborating in East Invest 2. And we have all sorts of business organizations within the 28 European Union countries delivering what they know best, how to increase capacity, effectiveness, and influence. If there is a lesson that we learn, business organization can be a crucial tool, device of the economic development of a country, provided that they are effective and relevant to the members and to the political environment.
So you can't address one without the other.
Exactly.
They have to go together. Thank you very much. I will come back and I want to ask the rest of you how effective you think East Invest, other EU tools, programs, all the things that are designed to foster cooperation between you, how effective they've been, and to build on this discussion about how we make this more systematic in the future. But let's go out. I know we have at least one question from our audience this time, so let me come out and take, where was the, I see you over there, sir. And can I ask you please to introduce yourself before you put your question, and please be brief because we don't have very long. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for giving the floor. My name is Philip Hamrod-Rots. I am one of the members from the European Economic and Social Committee. I'm coming from Finland, Confederation of Finnish Industry. Thank you for this very interesting panel. We are talking about how to spur business investment and having an attractive business environment. I would like to take up one point which has been addressed by some of the panels, which has to do with the stable business environment. Mr. Makarev, Mr. Kinak, Mr. Abruzzini at least took up the question about corruption. The fighting against corruption and the existence of corruption. We know that it is hampering the business environment, not only in your countries, but also in European Union countries, but it is a dreadful reading about some of your countries. That is a fact. So, it is a structural problem, and often one is saying, we are now in a business forum, that business is the origin of corruption, which is not true. It is sometimes true, but business is very often victim of corruption. My question is to you. Which would you be the concrete priorities, in your opinion, which you would like to deliver to politicians to fight corruption in your country?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any others? Yes, I see one over here. Excuse me, sir, if I could just move your bag out of the way. Thank you very much. Please, sir. Thank you. It's all right. Don't worry. I'm fine. Don't worry.
Thank you. I'm Vincent Farouj. I also come from the employers group in the European Economic and Social Committee. However much we work, and I come also from business association, however much we work in the business association, we very much depend on the political direction. Where is the political wind really blowing in terms of this partnership? 2 years ago, we were in Lithuania. There was the usual summit, and the summit sounded very glorious. Till then, we had the big kick from the ex-president of the Ukraine, and we all know what happened. Since then, practically all the enthusiasm has vanished. If you look at the kind of statements that the Commission and the European Union is now issuing, they are all with diligent phrases. But it seems that we are scaling back our ambitions. I, as an investor, would not be willing to invest in any one of the partners, ex-Soviet Union, especially the three that are most keen to join us, unless I know where the direction is. Is the direction backwards or forwards? I would like to hear the Business Association talking clearly about this, because this summit, they are already squabbling about what they are going to write in the final statement. I'm sure it will be a fudge. It will be a fudge. Can I hear you say very clearly that we want a clear direction, forward or backward, because our colleagues in the three countries, Georgia, Ukraine and Moldavia, want a clear
question.
direction.
Thank you very much. You make your point very eloquently there, sir. Any others before I come back? Any? Yes, last one, and then I'll go back to the panel. Thank you, madam.
This is for gender balance. Okay, Anna Nietyksza, also European Economic and Social Committee, but an entrepreneur and digital expert, let's say. My question is, and EU funds experts, my question is, how much do you use EU pre-accession funds to finance this cooperation and development between different business organizations? There is plenty of money in Europe aid, so do you use or not, and how do you plan to increase this, let's say, facilities to use to develop the business? And the second question, digital markets harmonization. Yep. You know, and we know how important is cybersecurity topic in this respect. Any comments about that?
Thank you very much. We will, of course, have a session on the digital economy more broadly later on. But your question about pre-accession funding and how do you use it links to my broader question about the use of the different instruments that are there to try and help you all cooperate more effectively to address these capacity building issues. So if you could sort of address that broader question within your responses. Who would like to come in? We have a question about corruption. Anybody want to come in on that? This broader, I think it was more of a statement than a question, but you believes very strongly that you need to be making that voice for moving forward, and this broad question of the EU's support for you all. Anatoly first, please, and then Geminidis.
I asked the floor first because a year ago tragic events happened in Ukraine, the Dignity Revolution, where many people died. And today, for us, it's very important. In our dialogue with the government, we always remember that. So, not to forget the main thing, why people protested in Ukraine. The main motivation was the demand for new quality of government and state, including fight with the evil that eats up the society, the economy, the investment climate, which is called corruption. For us, it's one of the main priorities. How to get results, it's political will, responsibility before people, and the rule of law and formulation of civilized standards in economy, including transparent competition and protection of ownership. And the second thing, I would like to emphasize once again for our partners and potential investors who would like to work with Ukraine, there is great investment potential in Ukraine. You do know that. Ukrainian business has many times stated that, and states it here, about unconditional support for Euro integration of Ukraine. And we ask European Union and our partners not to follow political propaganda, not to change the date of a free trade between Ukraine and EU of the 1st January of 2016. We understand our risks. We understand that the full volume trade, free trade with the EU is a great stimulant for us to accelerate all the reforms and the compliance of Ukrainian economy to EU. As to funds, one of our proposals, which we experience in real time as our lack, we believe we have to strengthen the training programs of EU, training for entrepreneurs, for staff, because often the inaccessibility of funds and financial help is defined by the unreadiness of managers and entrepreneurs to efficiently manage the funds.
I promise Geminidas first, and then I'll come back to you, Jacki. Geminidas.
Yeah, thank you. On the issue of corruption, I think the best instrument to fight corruption is good legal basis with less maneuvering in doing, voluntary decisions. And one thing, as was mentioned, EU accession funds, soft funding of mutual project would be really very beneficial. We have a lot of experience in participating in projects. And I think the issue will be European Commission supply side, if that will be availability of such a funds for us. On politicians, we have very clear Business Europe position. We are not criticizing political decision. Politics is politics, especially in the case of Ukrainian and Russian events. But let me say, the Belarusian, our partners also, especially a few years before, it was some political critics on that country, but we had very clear guidelines. Economy should go forward. We invested very successfully, and not only we, but I've seen a few weeks before Switzerland Stadler investments near Minsk, Kronospan Austrian investment. I know Lithuanian VMG, big company, will win export prize of your association. So it is for benefit for budgets of both countries and business. And digital market idea, I have no idea why Lithuanian Infobalt and Infopark sitting on different tables in front of me, but really we discussed a few days before in Copenhagen on new EU directive related to digital single market. We are fully supporting all Nordic and Baltic states countries. Līga also participated, and hopefully this is a major element of single market, will be not only for EU 28 but as well for our neighbors. By the way, again, Belarusians are very strong in IT sector, will be benefit for all Europe.
Thank you very much indeed. Gagik Makarian, you wanted to come in.
Хорошо. Вопрос
This is a very interesting and a very complicated question, because we cannot say that enough with corruption, please stop. Well, of course, that won't be possible, and we need to play our role, and we believe we have to increase, to strengthen the literacy of the businessmen. When they are literate, they know their rights, they can protect their interests, and this is a step against corruption. The second point, the second task is to get rid of eliminate the reasons, the causes for corruption. Fight against corruption, well, this is something I don't understand. I understand it would be better to eliminate risks for corruption. And Armenia's experience in this respect is positive. I must say that over the recent years, we've implemented a program, and the legislative acts that are contradictory or create any corruption-related risks are also amended or eliminated. And another step is that we significantly eliminate the number of inspection bodies, because each inspection poses a threat of corruption, and it is very important as well. Our new government is adopting it, as well as the previous government did. Another question about the funds, the money from the EU and their use by the Association of Businesses. There is a saying that the one who pays can order the music, so to say. Well, of course, the choice is up to the EU, because the EU is paying, but it is not a matter of music, it is a matter of orchestra, and the conductor runs everything. So we need a system of orchestra, not separate legislation systems.
Different EU programs. We heard about East Invest, what they've done, the lessons that Arnaldo has drawn from the first phase. In terms of EU instruments, do we need new ones? We talked briefly about possibly a European Cooperation Council. Are we making the best use of those funds? How do you see the future in terms of EU support for the collaboration between all of you that you've all underlined is so important?
Okay, here several times was emphasized that European Union pays for, there are more wealthy countries who at least claim that they want those a bit poorer brothers to catch up. If we sincerely believe that the intentions are not only to pay certain fee but to reach the results, then there has to be a free space to influence those support instruments, what those countries like Baltic countries who are significant beneficiaries from European Union funding, what we would like to do with that financing. And one claim that let us finance cooperation as such, I think it is not very good claim, because business tends to reach out. Business organizations, they want to internationalize. They do not sit at home, so they should not be pushed to cooperate because they want to. I think the main task is to strengthen those organizations, or what Gagik said, to strengthen the orchestra, not necessarily all the European orchestra, even within the country. What I mentioned, Team Finland, we have created Polaris process in Latvia, led by Prime Minister, where all the players cooperate, and that should be strengthened, and you need money for that. So I really think that those financial instruments need to be improved, but just general claim that they are not good would be a bit wrong. So I think we have a good support.
Thank you. Līga MENģELSONE, from your perspective.
From perspective of Employers Confederation of Latvia, we really see that key issue is to strengthen the role of the organized business and to strengthen their capacity. That would be both professionalism, both also passionism to achieve the results and to make a better trade. But for better trade, we need a peace, that's for sure. And that's why organized business society, business employers confederation, industrial confederations, all other organizations, they need to push on their governments with their request, what we need more. And for a moment, for very basic moment, we need a peace. And then we need a better trade relation, we need a better skills, and we need better agreements, as associated agreements and other very, very important agreements. And then, only then, our neighboring countries and also our friend countries in Eastern Partnership, they will know exactly which items to boost on. Yeah. Which technical issues to make to harmonize their level with the average EU level, and that would be good flagship. That would be great targets to achieve.
Thank you very much. Okay, we only have a couple of minutes left, and you know what I'm going to do, because I'm going to do it throughout the day. And I'd like to start with Henadzi Chamerka now. One priority, if you had to say, of all the things we're talking about, and there was quite a list there of important areas to focus on, and you've all mentioned many, many issues, one thing we need to do to enable all of you, your members, and economy, society, to take advantage of the potential of the Eastern Partnership, for each of you, what would be your one priority? And you have about half a minute each. If I can start with you, Henadzi, first, please.
Сложный вопрос.
It is a complicated question. Of course, there can be no joint recipe, so to say, but if we summarize everything that has been said today, I would say that business must be less dependent on the politics. Business have its own laws of development. Of course, this would be a perfect possibility, and this is what we would like to have.
Well, let me repeat the words of Latvian Minister of Economy have told that money likes silence. So I think good legal environment is prerequisite for silence for money. And again, one speaking about Eastern Partnership countries, again, probably issue number one, it's how to create good legal environment. And here I more believe for framework of European Union. Of course, I am not advising for each particular country which Eurasian group of or European Union group, but let it be a general framework of some 15 years before servicing in public service. I was one of those which transposed European Union law into Lithuanian natural legislation. So I think all countries have power of veto, but general framework could be either such a group countries like European Union, or probably we trust, especially like transport going throughout all countries, even Eurasian Union, some single regulation.
Thank you
good
very
regulation.
much. Arnaldo Abruzzini, your priority.
Well, some thoughts coming from the previous round.
Yeah.
I would add that a fight against corruption means also transparency. The more transparency we have, the less corruption we have. So working on corruption and the digital environment can give a strong hand for that. The second element is the European funds. There are many funds available, but not always the funds have good results. So the problem is where to use those funds, and I would say, going back to the sentence that has been repeated also during this panel, collaborative environment from business organizations is crucial. Therefore, why don't we continue to invest in programs such as East Invest that has demonstrated to be effective on this, doubling or tripling the budget.
So focus on we know what works. Anatoly Kinak, from your point of view, one priority.
Спасибо.
Thank you. In the beginning of our forum, and now we could hear a lot of proposals and thoughts about stability, and Professor Linder, our colleague from Germany, mentioned it as well. But I would like to urge today's audience, participants of Economic Forum, well, I hope that the participants of the political part of the European Partnership, Eastern Partnership Summit understand this as well, understand that peace is the priority, but we would like our European and international partners to understand that in order to achieve peace and stability, Ukraine will never do political trade about territorial integrity and strategic choice of the country. We cannot achieve peace and stability by paying this price. We do hope our partners will understand this. We will make and we hope our partners will make all efforts to achieve peace and stability without these tasks affecting our territorial integrity.
The most important priority of all the things we've been talking about.
Again, I would like to highlight the role of employers' organization and more promotion them to become more strong partner. And not only using Eastern Partnership programs or East Invest programs components, they are very effective, but also other European Union programs, including grants, because very often many experts and people sitting in European Union or commissions not clearly understand the role of employers' organizations. And the second message is that European Union have of course, during the implementation of different programs, they have very often some standard models to be easy to implement the same program in different countries. I would like to ask them to be more flexible, to understand needs, political and economic needs of each country.
So very much echoing our first panel, tailor-made, flexibility is key. Andris Uozels, from your point of view, most important priority for the future?
Perfect pronunciation of my last name.
It's changed every single time, I think, but I'm doing my best.
Thank you. Actually, I should agree completely with what our Belarusian colleague said, that if we can succeed by keeping politics separate from business as far as possible, it helps. Certainly it helps. But the major question was, how do we use European Union's money or any source of significant financing where government has the role to distribute it? And their role of NGOs is extreme. So you can influence the politicians, you can influence with your strength of organization, and here comes my major value of my statement is, I really think that you should not, you politicians influenced by businessmen, should not distribute it evenly or smoothly just to please everybody. So the major challenge is either you are saving the losers or picking up the winners. And I really think that picking up the winners is the key word. So you really should not please those who suffer just because they need that money. You really need to analyze what can you succeed, how you will measure it, and then usually completely changes or partly changes the scope, the address of your money.
Thank you very much. Indeed, Līga, you have the last word.
Thank you. I think I'm thinking about two things today. In Latvia, we have a national development plan. It's already accepted by and voted by our parliament, and this is the very basis in Latvia to and also for us to check, to follow, and to understand to which direction country goes. That's why National Development Plan, together with the Government Action Plan, is those basics for us to control their job. So no need to really go to the right or left, but just to follow the plan. And for society, both for business society and for civil society, it's so important that we know to which direction our government, for instance, goes. It's one thing. And second thing is, I think it's social dialogue plays important role, and also if to give some good hand to our partners in Eastern Partnership countries, then social dialogue could be the best solution for social, economical growth and prosperity.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, will you join me in thanking our panel very much indeed? Thank you to you all. Could I ask you just to remain seated for a moment? I have a couple of practical but important things to tell you about. Lunch will now be served outside, and also, as with the coffee break, over beyond the lifts in the area there to your right. After lunch, we will invite you to join the parallel discussions, which will be devoted to specific industries and development opportunities. A number of them have already been mentioned. The first two sessions, from 1:15 to 2:15, transport and logistics will be in this room, and access to finance will be in Hall Alpha, which is again across to the lifts and turn to your right. Then two more parallel sessions from 2:30 to 3:30, supported by two Latvian companies, Lat Telecom and Lat Venego, devoted to digital economy in here, energy resources in Hall Alpha. Then coffee, and then I'll see you back here at 4 o'clock sharp for some other, hang on a minute, two very important things more to say. There will also be business-to-business meetings organised by the Investment and Development Agency of Latvia in Beta Room from now until 5 o'clock. Beta Room is over that way as well. There will be a signing of a declaration of intent on cooperation in the agri-food sector between Georgia and the European Investment Bank at 2:15 in the Sky Point room. That's at the top of the building. Finally, and very importantly, could you please take your belongings with you? This room needs to be prepared for the afternoon parallel sessions, so please take your belongings with you. I will see you back here at 4 o'clock for our last two plenary sessions, but thank you for now, and bon appétit. Thank you all very much indeed. There will be gifts for you from the presidency in a moment. Thank you. Here we are. Thank you so much.